So, at the conclusion of the first major plot point, I don't really know what to refer to that section as. The first 30 episodes kind of makes up the first, not story arc or saga, but it's kind of like, I don't know. I call it a plot event. I think that's probably the best way to say it is plot event. With the whole Barcelona project, as the last episode was called. And, I figured now would be a decent time to actually go over the different characters within the series. Going in order of the vehicles on the list. So the Ferrari characters would be first, then the McLaren drivers, and then the Porsche drivers, and so on until we reach the bottom. First here we have Alex Gwozdowski, a name I've recently found out is actually of Polish descent, not Icelandic and not Russian or Swedish, as we've previously thought. Seeing as I have an elderly friend in town who is very rich in history, especially geographic travels, because he's been to several places throughout his life. Alex, not the main character, but he's kind of the poster of he's like one of the poster children of the series. Heck, this car is on the cover of the game. But that's not really all the reason that I have him on this car. Alex is a mysterious figure, troubled by what we would call the world's fastest tragedy. Or travesty is what his life has denounced into. He lost his dear friend in a stunt track challenge race when a specific other character decided to throw him into the ocean. Well, that guy came back in Universe Zero, and then was run into a wall and died on impact. And why does Alex drive a Canadian-based car? I don't know. You can figure that out for yourself. Alex's personality is just secretive and not much else, though. So that's, He's a Stunt Track Challenge champion and one of the fastest drivers in the series. If he's in the race, you better believe he's either slacking off or doing incredibly well. Next we have Burnout, a character who spent several years stuck in this time loop and has basically become stagnant. He didn't think he was ever going to get out of here because he hasn't even gotten close to finding a way out before. That is until these other bizarre drivers that have some flamboyant personalities, some secretive personalities and whatnot. A wide variety of different unique characters appear in a wide variety of unique looking cars that aren't very different from his own. And he's like, these guys know what they're doing. These could be my ticket out of here. These guys could be our ticket out of here. So he teams up with the various different characters that appear. He hopes after 6 years he can finally escape the time loop. As far as a personality, Burnout hasn't really developed much of one yet. He definitely has one, but I think it's just more so desperation fuels his entire personality. Above all else, he's desperate to get out, and so sometimes that clouds his judgment. Then we have number 1, already an established character, but in his home series, he is a little bit of an arrogant leader. Number 1 is he leads a group of 4 other adolescent secret or preteen secret agents. He's a faithful leader, and he's still a good leader at that. He just kind of has a big head of himself, and that's not just a joke on the fact that he is also bald. But if you're balding at 11, there's something wrong. And I have to wonder if he doesn't have some sort of terminal illness, or just some form of cancer that took the hair away. Maybe he had to shave it all off, who knows. I don't know if that question ever got the answer, but with the events of Fusion Fall in place, one could only theorize what truly happened to his hair. And although they get to appear, Sonic the Hedgehog is in fact in a vehicle, it's a little blue Ferrari, without a number plate on it, so it's the number 0 car. Ugh, kind of like the amount of hope that Edmund has in his entire franchise making it to 2030. Or heck, even 2025. He's got his own racing game coming out in a month or so, which I am looking forward to having that, along with the Crash Bandicoot racing game. Hang on. I do believe the company on this car is some sort of like fancy clothing brand in a different country. Most likely Italy, since it is Ferrari. Of course, Sonic, if you have spent any amount of time around video games, needs no introduction. Speed, style, attitude, and an insatiable hunger for chili dogs. And invincible as long as he has a golden ring on hand. Otherwise, he can die to basically anything because he's a video game character. Next we head over to the McLaren drivers. The first on the list being Dexter. Another pre-established character from Cartoon Network's past. 23 years ago, not no less, Dexter is, well, not so much a self-proclaimed genius, he just straight up is a genius. The major selling point of him, though, is between his original show and Fusion Fall, he's become much more compassionate and a little more bold, using his genius for more than just scientific betterment, but to straight up wow, good job. Straight up defend the world from an alien. Although he didn't really need it much, because he has some companions that did that job plenty well for him. However, some of his knowledge helped other people defend themselves, and some of those things also weakened his forces enough for, the final action to take place. You don't sleep on this kid either. He's still got a bit of athleticism in there, and he can use his genius to the greater effect of more than just building stuff. The McLaren GT is tuned to absolute perfection, and you'd be hard pressed to sleep on what he can do in a car, despite only being 13. And then here we have Tyler, who is, I don't know if I just go into this. Tyler is a close friend of mine on the PlayStation Network. Bit of a southern folk. Not very... Honestly, not all that different sometimes from how rednecks are known to act. And he does know that. He is well aware that he falls into the category of southern thrill seeker. But hey, there's nothing wrong with that. And rednecks are the best at keeping active, because they just find some of the craziest stuff to keep themselves occupied for as long as they have to be. The difference between Tyler and the other characters in the series is he's a living human being, so I don't really have to tell you how he acts. You can just watch the videos that he appears in and figure it out for himself, or yourself. He's also got his own YouTube channel, which is the same as his PlayStation username that you've seen in episodes such as 28. He recently changed it, though, with the PlayStation update that allowed you to do so, hence why my name is now MuscleTone71, which is supposed to correspond with my YouTube channel. Although the number 71 isn't there, but the name Muscletone, like, just basic that, was already taken. So I had to put my racing number in there at the end. And yes, I'm aware I could probably be driving the number 71 car, but I choose 89 because blue and green. And it's still an Acura, and that's the closest I'm going to get to that. Tyler has a few Racing League accolades under his belt. A lot of his prowess comes from NASCAR, but there's still NASCAR in the game, no less. However, we don't use that here. We use GT vehicles, and that's not to say that Tyler isn't good at driving GT cars. He just prefers NASCARs or Formula 1. That's all that really amounts to. Here we have Otto von Diesel, the main villain of the Hot Wheels Velocity X series duo of titles, both on consoles such as the Game Boy and the GameCube and the PlayStation 2, as well as a PC version, but also on the Game Boy Advance version. Game Boy Advance version under a different developer from the console and PC versions, however, so there's a lot of drastic differences between the two versions. But does not change the fact that Otto von Diesel is the main villain, and his plan originally was to use Hot Wheel Prototype 12, a vehicle that is capable of such incredible top speed that it can bend the laws of physics, and really, velocity x, or velocity squared, really makes a lot of sense when you realize that velocity is distance over time. If you cover so much distance before time can keep track of it, you just ignore how time works. Isn't that how it works, right? So really, Hot Wheels put more thought into that name than you might think they did. However, nowadays, having failed that plan, defeated by Danny and Gearhead, subsequently, in the Game Boy version, he's become more of the laughingstock villain than anything else. More so than, even Mojo Jojo. And he's the comic relief villain. But Otto is just so incompetent at racing and at fighting. Well, more so at fighting than racing. He has a fast car. Of course, I'm like... Arm is incredibly itchy. Otto does have some genius still, and he tries to use that to tune his McLaren to good effect, but then he does so much. A good car is no use to somebody who can't drive it. Then we have Henchman X, Otto's brave soul henchman who secretly hates his job, but he wouldn't dare tell him that, because he'd probably just get eradicated if he admitted to it. The henchman is honestly, in some cases, a better driver than Otto. The heck does it say on the side here? Your family home. That's... wow. Really inconvenient by the duct there. What is this number placement? What in the heck? Who designed this thing? My God. Anyway. Yeah, basically, Henchman's personality isn't much more than your basic evil minion that you would see in something like an old Mario game or a Sonic cartoon or something. Like, especially like Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. He's not all that different from that. Move on to the Porsche drivers. I'm taking way too long on this. Octane is the most recent addition to the series, coming over from the game Rocket League, but here to prove his prowess in more than just hitting balls into squares. Octane has decided he's going to become a race car driver now. I think you're a bit in over your head, but sure. And then we have Mojo Jojo, the main villain of the Powerpuff Girls cartoon series. He's an evil genius monkey who also has a bit of a sense of humor. And more humility than you'd expect, at least from an evil villain. However, it doesn't really matter too much. You don't really get too much humility out of being beaten by arrogant kindergartners, so it's probably not helping his cause. In that regard, anyway. You really can't spin this around the car very precisely, so I'm just gonna have to hold it here. I'm probably taking way too long. That's why I need to start 2 of this at some point too, which is going to suck. Mojo's personality is pretty much known by any 90s kid. He's easy to anger, smart, and tries to take over, well, the world, but sometimes those goals shrink down to a singular town. It really just depends on his mood, I think. And we have Twin Mill, one of the most culturally relevant Hot Wheels cars, as it has been all the way back in 1969, basically not even a year after Hot Wheels' inception. And Twin Mill 3 is still a relevant car appearing in even other video games, even though Hot Wheels has since stopped making very many. Sure, they have the original Twin Mill, no less, in that new mobile game that's coming out called Infinite Loop. Just stole my idea, and it's like they copied off my homework but changed it slightly to make sure that they weren't caught in cheating. Anywho, pondering lawsuits aside, Twin Mill's personality is just that he's here to do his job. He's driving all of the time. He's always had plenty of practice on the course. Very adaptable driver. Very silent driver, no less. Not many people get to know Twin Mill, but everyone knows of Twin Mill. Then we have Gearhead, the opposite of what I just mentioned as Twin Mill. Everyone knows Gearhead, everyone knows of Gearhead, and oh my god, some people do not want to know how Gearhead is, but he's going to tell you anyway. He was in conception a robotic assistant, which worked behind the scenes on radars built into the cars, navigation, and such, and mission, mission or info giving. I can totally think of words. Not really, not in this case. However, when humans were no longer fit to do the job of saving the day from Otto and his new robotic minion Metacog, Gearhead was programmed to be able to somehow drive cars. I mean, it's not that weird in the Hot Wheels series. There's been plenty of times where robots can drive cars. But anyway, there's like 3 other robots here that can do it. So what's so special about Gearhead? I don't know. You can ask him. But he'll definitely give you the answer because he has a bit of an ego. And he loves to flirt about not the flirt. He loves to throw around the fact that he beat Otto and Metacog at the same time. Did you forget that Danny also did basically the same thing, but instead of Metacog, he had to defeat Rupert in a much weaker vehicle, but that's beside the point. Point is, Gearhead, you're not all that special. It's because you're a robot. And his aggression, both on and off the track and in the arena, can tend to take some people off. A character that's yet to appear, Grim, from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, is the Grim Reaper with a Jamaican accent, because that's how Cartoon Network works. He's finally managed to break away from his caretakers, I suppose, of Billy and Mandy, and decides that racing somehow is a way for him to cool off after having to spend so long in their presence. I mean, yeah, driving fast can be uplifting, but I don't see why the Grim Reaper would have to do it. Just go take some souls. Isn't that usually how you do it? Or is that no longer good enough for you? And finally, we have, at least for this car, and this character hasn't appeared in either, we have Deliverance. In the original Universe Zero, it was just a lowly pizza guy who, after Danny won the first championship, ordered some pizza, and this delivery guy was just teleported here. I don't even know why he was there or how he got there. He just suddenly appeared with a box of pizza in his hand, and his crappy delivery car. Well, after proving himself at least capable of keeping the car on the road, he upgraded to a sportier version of that car, and then he upgraded to a sportier car in general. He went from a Toyota Corolla to a tuned Toyota Corolla. Wow. Toyota Corolla to a Toyota Supra Time Attack car. Well, now Toyota's out of the question for the moment, so he upgrades to a Porsche instead. There are no characters under this vehicle. All these liveries are unused. Which, this one does look kind of nice, but the other ones here are just ugly, like this. And this. And especially this. This one's okay. But next, move on to the Mercedes-Benz AMG GT3. And go from the top here. And we have Captain Falcon. One of the earliest edition characters. Captain Falcon is, of course, the main character of the now antiquated F-Zero franchise. So he usually drives cars that are even faster than this. Like, 3 times faster than this, if not more. However, Falcon doesn't care. He's in a race car, and racing against other people that actually can provide a challenge, because really, the F-Zero Grand Prix contestants can't usually do that. At least that's what he'll tell you. In truth, he just is tired of losing to them and wants to play it off like he knows what he's doing. Which, I mean, he definitely does know what he's doing. He just isn't the best at it. Why does it say Black Falcon there? Well, that's just the name of the team that signed him. Or that signed the driver of this car originally. It's a little falcon symbol there. The actual bird on the hood and the side of the car, and there's even a little advertisement from a company named Sonic. Almost like a reference to the fact that Sega made the most recent F-Zero title back in 2003. Falcon's also not too unfamiliar with combat, being a Smash Brothers character, and basically more so that than anything else. But not vehicular combat so much. He's not foreign to it. Next we have Burt Wheeler, probably one of the most relevant Hot Wheels characters. That's the wrong button that I've pressed. Burt, a character that actually appeared in the most recent episode of Universe Zero Time Loop. There was a gnat that just flew in my room. He is now destroyed. Burt was originally a character from Hot Wheels World Race, where he was a self-absorbed 16-year-old who didn't really seem to know the difference between what he wanted and what was necessary. Of course, by the law of kids movie, he learns the lesson that sometimes you have to help other people. And he learned this lesson when he saved a woman from falling into a bunch of burning hot lava. Nowadays, he drives much different vehicles and acts much differently from those days. Now almost 20, Burt has learned about everything he needs to, and he's definitely learned how to drive really well. He's another one of those really good drivers that doesn't focus so much on other aspects of Hot Wheels, but he is very good at driving fast around circuits. And here in Project Cars 2, in the time loop, that's all that you need, necessarily. The cool sponsor on his car reflects Vert's now very cool and chilled out complexion, compared to his original days of being probably a little in over his head and very full of himself. And then his young adult years, 17 to 19, where he was actually lacking much confidence in himself. You can look at the Accelerators films for that. It also is an airplane repair company, but that's beside the point. And then we have the two remaining Mercedes, Race Cam and Ryan Storm. Race Cam here, I'm starting with him because it's the lower number, so it appears first on the list, is the floating robot drone from Stunt Track Challenge, in a Hot Wheels game from 2004. He is, well, a camera that films the race. That's what his name implies, and that's exactly what he does. He doesn't really do all that much else. And somehow he, like Gearhead, has been reprogrammed to be able to drive cars. He's not the greatest at it, but he's also not the worst, despite being programmed just before events got serious, which wasn't very long ago. Now Ryan Storm, or Drift King Ryan Storm, or I just call him Ryan if I'm in a pinch and don't feel like saying his full name, he's a very different animal. He was the once shining star of Hot Wheels Hollywood, being the game show host of Stunt Track Challenge, as well as full-time commentator over it, which wasn't that hard because there really wasn't that much going on. He didn't do his job very well because he seemed to be fixated on only one driver at a time. That's whatever car you're driving. So it's not really what his job is, but he's doing it that way anyway. And I guess it worked. Stunt Track Challenge ratings blew up at one point. And then all this dimensional nonsense kind of prevented the series from happening at all, and Ryan Storm just kind of stuck here. He's sold out to the company, and now he drives all of the Hot Wheels branded cars. The price of never being able to run the game show much nowadays. And then we get to, that's the wrong button, the Cadillacs. Starting with one we've yet to see. Johnny Bravo is actually a part of the series, but his car, the number 130 here, has yet to appear as an opponent. Johnny Bravo is another one of the opening Cartoon Network series from '97. Dexter was from '96, and the Powerpuff Girls 1998. So he's right in the middle, but he's actually completely different, and the only one not that doesn't involve Craig McCracken or Jenny Tarkovsky at all. I don't remember the name of the creator of Johnny Bravo, but they definitely had a very different mind, since Johnny Bravo, all he cared about was fancy cars, fancy clothing, and fancy women. He only ever got one of those things, and that was a fancy car. He dressed the exact same way every day. That's how cartoon characters usually work. But he did have a nice Cadillac lowrider at one point that he used in the Cartoon Network racing game from 2006. Created, humorously enough, by the same people that made Hot Wheels Beat That. How did that happen? And Dexter was there, along with other characters from that show. The Powerpuff Girls were there. Courage the Cowardly Dog was there, but I'm not even going to try and make it a way for him to drive a car. We've already got robots driving cars and all this other stuff, and just, it's too much going on. Anyway. There were also Cow and Chicken and I Am Weasel characters, but nobody really cares about those. Because I Am Weasel was quickly forgotten about, it seems like. I feel like the Cartoon Network racing roster was a little underwhelming, because in 2006 they had access to shows like Samurai Jack, Kids Next Door, kind of Ben 10. That would have been a stretch, though. Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy, and a few others that I'm probably forgetting. But no, just those 6 shows. 2 of which nobody even remembers from their childhood, probably. Sure, 3 that are legendary, and then Johnny Bravo. But anyway, back to that actual character. Johnny drives like he acts. A little crazy, and a little pushy, I guess would be the word to say. And we have Ben 10, who is kind of the opposite of Johnny Bravo. Probably because A, he's not an adult, he's 16. And B, because he's a little bit more mature than Bravo and really any of the other characters besides Dexter. Maybe Blossom. But other than that, he's a very dutiful hero. But that can also lead to him coming off as a little boring at times. Ben 10, for the unengaged, can control several different alien life forms by just hitting his watch. It was a very powerful Rolex. Fortunately, I couldn't get him to be sponsored by the watch company in this game. I don't remember what it's called, though. I might find it later. I think it's OBX, that's what it is. OBX watches. It's like the in-game spoof of Rolex. Anyway. Ben 10 has appeared in a couple of episodes. He appeared in the most recent one, helping at the Barcelona project, but he didn't really... Actually, he got more results than I'd have thought. And the only other remaining Cadillac is Madison. Character based off of a classmate of mine. Sharing the same first name, but last name doesn't really matter. It's not the character's name. The character's name is just Madison. To put her personality into context, think of actually a mixture between Sparky and Bubbles. Not completely useless, but also just... Well, that's kind of looks similar, except you just put her hair in a pigtail. But she is also blonde. Blonde just want to have fun, right? And, well, driving is usually pretty fun. Although I don't know about driving a Cadillac. We have 2 Bentley drivers. They're each across different models. I think. Nope, they're both on this one. First is Metacog. That's the same Sonic logo. Metacog, the once robotic minion of Otto von Diesel, but after Otto's defeat, was basically told him, you know what, screw you, you suck, I'm going to the good side. And thus joined Gearhead and others in their efforts to defend Monument City, as opposed to trying to destroy it. Or whatever Otto's goal was, which honestly was more personal than that. Controller? Professional. So yeah, Metacog now is actually the best robotic driver, and doesn't even have a big head of it. See, Gearhead, it's not that hard to not be a jerk about it. You're not even that good at it. Metacog could show you up any day. You just get lucky in combat. Metacog isn't as programmed for that. Metacog's advanced navigation systems allow him to also find any short route around tracks, but that won't help him here, because you corner cut and it honestly just hurts you. And then we have Enduro. Burnout's longtime friend that got stuck here with him, and Enduro is kind of losing his mind. If Burnout weren't here, he'd probably be medically insane or worse. Despite his name being Enduro, which is more of a nickname, it's like Burnout, it's not the real name. That's just what they go by here. The real names are undisclosed, and I don't know if they'll ever be, but maybe it's one of those names on the little door handle there. Or not door handle, but the top of the door frame. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. What matters is that we get out of here, and we can take them with us, because they are... The 2, Burnout and Enduro, are very skilled drivers. It's a matter of, will they ever be able to get out? It's been 6 years. Enduro might need some form of medical treatment when he gets out of here. Wrong button. Next we move on to the Junettas, starting with Soupy-Doo, after I blow my nose. Soupy-Doo is member of a little bit of a bigger group known as the Golden Tetrad, led by another character named 16 Angels. Soupy-Doo's personality, among the 4, whose each personalities are attributed to one of the 4 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Soupy-Doo would be Michelangelo. He's always just joking around, doesn't take much seriously. unless he has to, but he usually doesn't even know when that is. So he doesn't take anything seriously. He's a seriously good driver, relatively speaking to some other characters here, but for every minute that he's a really good driver and one of the best on the group, he can also just totally screw himself up and run himself into a wall. It's kind of back and forth with him. One moment he's one of the fastest, one next minute he's one of the worst. It's almost like some people think it's a split personality disorder, some people just think that he only cares sporadically. Some say just good luck versus bad luck. Excuse me. The answer doesn't really matter. I wish I had a use for this livery here, because I really like this 51 car. But instead we go to Professor Justice, which is the creator of Gearhead, forgot his name, and gave birth to Danny, some way or shape or form. Anyway, where is their mom anyway? She's never even talked about. Made a layer. That actually made out a layer to Danny there. That's why he's aggressive, maybe. I don't know. That's for a different time. It'll be someone I can ask him about it. Somebody that's brave enough to potentially be punched directly in the face. But anyway, Professor Justice also had a hand in creating Hot Wheels cars alongside Peter Tesla, Otto von Diesel, kind of. He was his associate at one point before he failed safety procedures and just said, I'm out of here. Ryan Storm and Riggermotor have also had a part in building Hot Wheels cars. So he's not the only one, but he did make the first one. Or was that Ryan Storm? Or maybe it was Riggermotor. Well, the first one was Twin Mill, so technically, Riggermotor, believe it or not, was the first one to make a Hot Wheels car. He made Twin Mill from scratch, using parts of other cars that were available at the time. It wasn't easy, but it seemed to have worked. It definitely sparked a movement. Next to the Nissan drivers. That's the wrong button. So I've been getting this wrong the entire time. I looked back in the different videos. And this is Samurai Jack. Another show from the mind of Gendy Tarkovsky. That's how you pronounce it, I believe. Honestly, it's open to discussion at this point. Samurai Jack is a warrior with a magical katana who gets sent into the future by a demon voiced by a guy that sounds like the Flying Dutchman, but it's not him, I don't think. I don't know. I don't look into the voice actors all that much for shows. I didn't watch too much. I know of Samurai Jack, but I didn't look into Aku's actor and what else they've done. I know they're famous, and I know they're also deceased. His name was Mako. But anyway, Samurai Jack is, yeah, he's a samurai warrior, that obviously, but he doesn't really have the crazy Ronin or whatever get-up that a lot of samurai warriors of the area had. No, he just wears a white gi, and that is it. Looks more like pajamas than battle clothing, but Samurai Jack gets by perfectly fine. Probably better than fine. He's like the best warrior in Cartoon Network history, as far as raw skill. And his wisdom is also hard to meet as far as spiritual knowledge, worldwide knowledge. He doesn't have the technological genius that Dexter might have, but he doesn't need it. And his Samurai Jack's boldness carries over to his driving. Brave, a little bit crazy, but he makes it work, and he doesn't really harm anybody that doesn't need to be harmed in the process. Then we get to Governor, the sheer opposite of that. He is also part of the Golden Tetrad. He is second in command, where Scooby-Doo is bottom tier, or bottom of the ladder. Ah. Governor on that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comparison is Donatello. Smart, experienced, and a little nerdy, but that doesn't mean he's not also more than capable of defending himself. Governor is also sometimes seen as the best driver overall, but he had a couple of bad runs in the Soundtrack Challenge in his past, and 16 Angels got the better of him, and that somehow gave 16 Angels the leader terminology. Governor sometimes opposes this, but doesn't get him anywhere. Onto the Lamborghinis, I basically skip over it, almost. I really want to get to the BMWs, I guess. And the first on the list is actually Buttercup, who was in the previous episode, assisting her sister, and assisting their sister. Maybe that's probably not the best word choice I could have used there, to say the least. Apparently sponsored by a news TV or news company. Irish TV. It looks like it would be some kind of a news thing based on its little motto on the side here. Local stories, global audience. Yeah, that's definitely sounds like a news station to me. Buttercup, of course, if you do not know the Powerpuff Girls by now, Buttercup is the aggressive fighter of the three, the tomboy of the three girls. And believe me, this definitely carries over into her driving. She's known as a bit of an aggressive type even on the road, forcing people off the track or just pushing them out of her way in order to get to the front if needs be. Which usually it's hard to convince her that it's not necessary just because she just enjoys doing it. God darn it! Oh my god. Anyway. Actually, I'll explain their full backstory when I get to the final one. Up to 3. Yeah, Bubbles. If you got engaged, Bubbles is the joyful one, the cutesy one, and also the popular one for one reason or another. I guess because a show that's generally aimed at younger girls, being a little girl, kind of has an advantage, or especially acting like one that is. Bubbles acts, well, even now at 13, she still acts like she did in her cartoon appearance, 5 or 6. And probably 6, based on the car number. She actually shares her number, the number 6, with Buttercup. I was about to say it was the number of seasons the show ran for. No, that was 5. In 7 years. So it's the average, I guess. Of course, the problem with Bubbles is her emotional vulnerability leads to her kind of making a lot of simple mistakes. And if the Barcelona project was nothing to go by, those simple mistakes can lead to simply catastrophic results. Then we have Blossom, and speaking of catastrophic results, professional components. What does that mean? She's sponsored by a phone company, Vodafone. However, it's a European and Australian type thing rather than American, so you don't hear about it here. Which means they're actually probably better than Sprint or Verizon, but they're not here, so we don't hear anything about them. They probably have a better coverage plan. They have more than nationwide coverage, they have multiple nations in coverage, but you wouldn't know, because they're a European company, and I think they also cover Australia, because there's Vodafone advertisements in places like Bathurst and Melbourne, Albert Park. Anyway. onto the actual character of Blossom. She is the smart leader. Not that the reboot would let you know that, because she doesn't do either of those things very well. First, of course, referring to the 2016 reboot that is still going. Unfortunately, it's also kind of killing the name as it goes. Because it used to be a legendary cartoon from the late 90s and early 2000s, and now it's corporate garbage, like most cartoons are. Anyway, that's not the catastrophic result I'm referring to. The real, the big backstory behind the girls in this series comes from the 2009 MMORPG Fusion Fall that Cartoon Network put on their website a while ago. It ended in 2013, but if you are curious, it does still exist. A small group of fans that have knowledge in game programming have since rebuilt the game under Fusion Fall Retro, and they're working on rebuilding a basically new and improved version called Fusion Fall Legacy. I'm starting to get the camera spin down, but really it's pointless anyway. I'm drooling everywhere. Not that you need to know that, but that's what's happening. That's why my talking keeps screwing up. I'm trying to not spit it out or choke on it. Blossom, going for a very different number. 6 versus 78. Almost 98. That'd have been cool if I could have gotten that way, but no. The real life team, Barwell Motorsports, did not decide to do that, so there we are. Or here we are. Of course, not of course, what am I talking about? In Fusion Fall, the original version of the game, there is, of course, a player character. You create your own character and you play through the game, leveling up, increasing your stats, getting new equipment, and defeating several monsters, and getting missions from the actual Cartoon Network characters, some of which could probably be doing this on their own. Like the Powerpuff Girls themselves, would be a prime example, but instead Blossom wants you to help her set up a picnic. Bubbles needs your help rescuing helpless animals, which I guess is a little more heroic than a picnic, but still, not really the task at hand here. Seems weird that Bubbles has the more heroic deed to perform, considering she's the one that isn't usually... usually the one focused on that. That's usually her sisters. Why was I getting all riled up there? I don't know. I've had this conversation with like 8 different people. I think I was just talking for way too long at once. Anyway, but in Universe Zero's timeline, the player character never existed, and the Powerpuff Girls themselves, getting sick of his nonsense, decided to go up and beat the alien invader known as Lord Fuse, single-handedly. Well, there's 3 of them, so 6-handedly, on their own. However, in their process of them doing that, Mojo Jojo snuck into their house, into the laboratory, no less, and basically tortured their dad, Professor Utonium, straight up to death. And, as you can probably imagine, this kind of crippled them emotionally. Doesn't help when Bubbles is already emotionally weak as it is. Sure, they're 13 now, they can better take it. They can better take care of themselves, I think. I don't know, their superhero powers seem to get weaker as they got older, despite the fact you'd think they'd have better knowledge of what they can do. I guess maybe that just means that they have to put less power into doing something. Who knows? They probably had to use a good chunk of it to defeat Lord Fuse, but unfortunately we don't get to see that here. So we just see race car driving. So yeah. That's why they race, same reason why Grimm does it. They're trying to cope, they're trying to chill out, all that other stuff. However, the superheroes' work is never done. Even here, they're still saving lives, just saving each other. Now they're all trying to team up with these Hot Wheels guys to get out of this place so they can defend Townsville some more, but that's a while in the making. To that, we move on to me blowing my nose again, because oh my god, I'm talking too much. We now return to your regular scheduled programming, and me ranting on and on about random characters that don't exist. Starting next with Grease Lightning. In his time, one of the greatest drivers of the series, close friends with another character named So Fast, you will get to later. This crazy driver has a bit of a backstory to him that actually explains why he is the way he is. In the early days of Hot Wheels, as Grease Lightning and So Fast were practicing together around the snow course and burning rubber. I know, snow course, not exactly the most original name, but they didn't really have to be. The names around here aren't terribly crazy either, they're just the name of the location they're in. You know, Fuji Speedway is near Mount Fuji. Brands Hatch is in a town called Brands Hatch, United Kingdom. Silverstone, same thing, that's the name of the airfield it was built over, Silverstone Airfield. There's not really much that's going on that's unique here. None of these cool, crazy names like Mist Mountain or Fire Mountain or... Those are two bad examples, they sound exactly the same. Or like Vast Jungle, Glacier Edge, Black Widow's Nest, and all this crazy stuff. Yeah, there was no need for that in real life, so we just name it after where it is, because it's easier to remember Silverstone than it is to remember Foggy Fields or something like that. That's probably what it would be called if they were if they were a Hot Wheels name, Foggy Fields or something. Well, it sounds like a Mario stage. But anyway, Barcelona would probably be like, I don't even know what to call that one. Probably like Heated Battle or something. It's almost like Volcano Battle, but there's no volcanoes in Spain. Anyway. So yeah, Grease Lightning was actually kidnapped mid-race by that, who was once a villain, and still kind of is, but with the powers of Common Goal, he's put that on hold to get out of here, and then be a bad guy afterwards. But that's, again, a while in the making. So for now, he's playing himself as something of an anti-hero. And Grease Lightning was that at one point. He's also a villain in the original series that this is based off of by Keyblade Blocks. You might see in the comments section of these two videos, because this is definitely going to be a two-parter. We're going on like 45 minutes here, I'd probably say. Maybe less, I don't know. But either way, with how many characters we have after this still, there's 50 of them. In the GT class alone. We're not done yet. We're not even close. We've only gone through like 20. Anyway. Now, Grease Lightning was captured by that, and that, trying to find effective minions to help his takeover, decides to try and enslave Grease Lightning. Well, he breaks right out of that machine, so now he has split personality disorder, night terrors of being on one side or the other, specifically on that side, and he's also, for some reason, phasing in and out of reality. In 1 minute, Grease Lightning will be the friendliest guy you've ever known, and the next he's trying to choke you, and then mid-choke he'll realize, oh yeah, that's not who I am, and then just set you down lightly and walk away, before he turns around and kicks you in the face. Split personality disorder is not fun, for anybody involved. He doesn't sleep very well, so he just races to relax, which doesn't always work either. My stomach just went crazy there. I don't know if you heard that. I haven't eaten it today, so I should probably fix that after I'm done recording all this stuff. There won't be a race today, by the way, because this is going to be an episode 31 and 31 and a half. Assuming I can fit it in 2 parts, which I hope I can. If I can stop getting sidetracked. You know, my ADHD doesn't help here. Grease Lightning now searches for a way to escape that, and he's kind of escaped the in out of reality thing, but he's still got those night terrors, and he's still got the split personality. Those things, I don't know if you can fix them too well. And the final of the 5 Lamborghinis in the series so far, Burn, an alien from the planet Mercury. Of course, Mercury is the fastest planet, so he should be a fast driver, right? You'd be correct. He is up there with Alex and Vert as one of the fastest characters. However, he has quite the mean streak, and has a very preordained opinion on the idea of non-organic drivers on the racetrack. A bit hypocritical, considering he thinks humans should be the only ones on the track when you're from Mercury, buddy. That's not how this works. But he hates the idea of programming being used as a race car driver. It should come down to driver's skill, which is a viable statement, regardless of whether or not you're from this planet or not. And so he tends to attack the robot drivers at any opportunity he gets. Specifically XT3. In the original Universe Zero series, he and XT3 had a bit of a rivalry where he would just kind of send XT3 off the track, and XT3, his personality not developed enough to do anything about it, just keeps taking it. Doesn't care, it doesn't seem like. So we're just going to keep getting run off the road until XT3 finally matures enough to run him off himself. Or run Burn off, that is. Not himself. He's already done that a couple of times. Burn has his other mindsets on other characters, though. One thing being undying respect and even a mild amount of fear towards the Powerpuff Girls. Of course, when the Powerpuff Girls defeated the galactic invader, Lord Fuse, they prevented him from inevitably reaching Mercury and absorbing that. The defenses on Mercury aren't very great, other than the incredible heat of the sun, which I don't think would burn Planet Fuse, or anything else for that matter, but it would definitely burn the other planets absorbed by it. No, other than Mercury. So for that, he owes them a debt. However, he also fears them because of what they've done to other aliens. The Pickloids, the Brockloids, Lord Fuse himself, and such like that. He knows what they're capable of, which is a lot. Plus, they also have the bonus in his mind that their main enemy is also a non-human. He is a monkey. And, like we said, Burn doesn't really seem to like anything that's not humanoid. Robots, monkeys, doesn't seem to matter. He hates them regardless. But I mean, at least he's consistent. There's that. Now you move on to the BMW drivers. But first I'm going to check how many characters we've gone through. There's 5, 7, 9, 11, 14, 18, 20, 22, 26, 29. That's 29 characters. It's a little over half, because we have like 50, 51 to go through, I believe. Yeah, it's 51, including Octane. I'm gonna cut this recording here, actually.